Well, everyone says that opinions can change. Half a decade ago, I made a video explaining why The Order of the Phoenix was my least favorite book in the Harry Potter series. I'm gonna be honest, I hadn't watched this video since I made it, and it was interesting to look back because I see an entirely different person behind that microphone than who I am today. The me that made that video was a 24-year-old kid that had just moved into his first apartment and had just graduated from college. Now I'm almost 30 years old, I just sold my first house and bought a new one, I'm married, and I'm a father. So it's safe to say that I've lived a lot of life since the young man that made that video. And I do think that that life lived has given me a different perspective on many parts of the story told in the 5th book. Welcome to Movie Flame, I'm Morgan Ross, and today I'm going to react to my video from 5 years ago and go over how my outlook on the Order of the Phoenix has changed over time. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and sharing. It will greatly help to grow and sustain the channel. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, and you can also follow me on all of my other social media pages, all of which are linked down below, and all of which house similar content that I make here on this channel. Now let's get into it.
This is it.
The younger me said that this was the book that I always got stuck on while doing my read through of the series.
I've gone through the Harry Potter series too many times to count, and every single time I do, I get stuck on this book. I don't know what it is, but I fly through the rest in the series, but this one just always leaves me wanting to stop reading or listening to the audiobooks and give up.
However, since then, I've done about 15 more read throughs, and now I actually get excited for the 5th book. These days, I'm captivated by it just as much as the other books, and sometimes even more than the other novels, which is a pretty big change. Now I actually get stuck on the last book, The Deathly Hallows, which used to be at the very top of my ranking. And one of the reasons of why I think this is because I'm now so far out of school that I enjoy going back to Hogwarts and Harry's wizarding education. The Order of the Phoenix is the longest book of the 7, so we spend more time at Hogwarts than any of the other books, which is my favorite part of the books now. I just love everything to do with Hogwarts. And it's interesting that The Deathly Hallows, which was once so high on my ranking, is now kind of at the bottom. Back then, I picked up the 7th book and was like, oh, no school? Right on. Let's drop out and go into the real world. But now I'm like, oh, the real world? Nah, I want to go back to school. I also think that the me from 5 years ago was an impatient reader. I was fresh out of film school and I was pumping videos out like crazy and was focusing on the topics in Harry Potter that were exciting enough for a video. Along the way, I guess that made me sort of look down upon the parts of the books that weren't exciting enough for video topics. And if we're being honest, that's the majority of the 5th book. This impatience made me want to skip over the more chill parts that I find myself enjoying more than anything else in the series these days. Back then, I didn't want to hear about them doing chores in Grimmauld Place. I didn't want to hear about how cozy the Gryffindor common room was, because these weren't the things that I could make a video out of. Another thing that's changed since I made that video is how much more confident I feel. And the key to that is all about wearing certain fragrances. This week I've been using the scents Anthony by Anthony Silver and Billy by Harlem Perfume Co. thanks to the services of Scentbird. They offer a monthly subscription that lets you explore over 900 authentic designer and niche fragrances. Each month you receive an 8ml vial providing about 120 sprays, plenty to test how a scent works for you in various situations. I used Anthony by Anthony Silver on my vacation last week, and everyone in the family was asking me about it and loving the scent. The combination of orange and sandalwood give it a very fun and beachy smell that was perfect for the trip. And I wore Billy by Harlem Perfume Co. for a date night with my wife, and she loved the mixture of vanilla and lush green leaves, which gave it a very elegant smell. And when I was on vacation, the smaller Scentbird vials made it super easy to travel with. I could just throw it in my bag and it didn't take up too much room. With Scentbird, you can change your fragrance every month, avoiding the commitment and cost of pricey full-size bottles that can range from $300 to $500. I recommend you test different scents for different occasions as well as for different outfits, because sometimes these fragrances can enhance your style. If you want to try this for yourself, there's a special deal right now. You can get 55% off your first month when you use code FLAME3 or scan the QR code on the screen. Again, that's FLAME3 for 55% off your first month, or scan the QR code right here. Now, back to the show. In my original video, I talked a lot about how the 5th book was too long, It took too long to get to Hogwarts. It took too long to get to the action of the story. I was pretty clear in that video that I didn't like any time spent at Grimmauld Place.
There are literally 2 chapters dedicated and named to focus on this grimy old house. And me personally, I don't want to see this.
But when I read through the series now, I think these chapters are excellent and some of the best parts of this book. There are some great moments that I think I overlooked, like the twins collecting doxies to use for their joke shop candy, learning about the Black family tree, and everyone finding out that Ron was made a prefect over Harry. These little things are what make the series appeal to me more than anything else these days, even over all of the wham bam action that I liked before.
This is very wise.
One of the biggest points I made in that video was that I greatly disliked Sirius's characterization and just overall how he treated everyone that walked through the door of Grimmauld Place.
When the 2 are finally reunited after many months, Sirius barely acknowledges Harry, instead screaming at his mother's painting, telling her to shut up, then says very grimly, not excited, grimly, "Hello, Harry. I see you've met my mother." Sirius is just so dull and not at all happy to see Harry.
I mentioned that he didn't seem like the Sirius we knew from the 3rd and 4th novels.
Sirius Black was introduced in The Prisoner of Azkaban, and here, while he was on the run and the most wanted man alive, he put his entire life at risk to get Harry a new broomstick after his old one broke. In the Goblet of Fire, after finding out that Harry was in the Triwizard Tournament, Sirius once again risked being captured as he traveled halfway around the world to make it back to Hogwarts so he could protect Harry. Clearly, he would have gone to any length to protect and be with Harry.
Looking at this opinion now though, I see that I overlooked what made him that way. I did a lot of comparing between movie Sirius and book Sirius, and I still agree with the point I made that the way the films changed Sirius's storyline compared to the books made him more likable. However, I'll disagree with myself that him being more likable made his death more meaningful in the movies.
It's not that his death isn't powerful, but I think it would have been more powerful if we had grown to love him more in this book, rather than grow to dislike him, or how I should say it, dislike the way he's acting. I think his death in the movie is far better, because they did just that. They made us fall in love with Sirius more, and therefore, it was more gut-wrenching when he faded away.
I've actually come to the opinion now that Sirius's death in the book hits harder because of how awful he was at Grimmauld Place. And in today's medium of storytelling, you don't see this a lot. In entertainment today, you'll know a character is going to die well before it happens because they make you love this character more than you ever have before, just so that when they die, their death is more emotional for you. That's exactly what the Harry Potter films did with movie Sirius. They made him more likable so that his death would hit harder for viewers. Looking at book Sirius though, I said this in a recent video, I don't remember which one, but I said that Sirius being locked up at Grimmauld Place was like all those years being locked up in Azkaban, but worse. For one, he was trapped in his childhood home that held nothing but traumatizing memories. And two, unlike in Azkaban, he knew what was going on out there and knew the action he was missing out on, which killed him inside. Especially when people like Snape would rub it in his face that he couldn't be a part of it. So book Sirius being a grumpy and depressed version of himself makes perfect sense. Adventure was his drug, which we saw at every point of his life, and that drug was taken away from him. As a recovering drug addict, I can now see why Sirius was miserable while in that state. And this is also what I think made his death more meaningful in the book to me now, 5 years later. When he finally did go into the action to get a sense of adventure, he immediately died. And I don't know if it's just me who interprets it this way or if it's just my outlook on life because of what I've been through, but I almost see Sirius getting his fix for adventure as an overdose. He was reunited with his drug, got carried away, and lost his life because of it. It's made me think that though his character is less likable in the books, I actually prefer him to movie Sirius, which was not the opinion I held 5 years ago.
Done beautifully.
In another section of the video, I did the same thing I did with Sirius's characterization, but for the Battle of the Department of Mysteries. I said that the movie did the sequence better, and while I do think that the film's version of this battle was perfectly crafted for cinema, I now see that the two should not be compared. In my original video, I said that the book's version took too long to get to the actual action of the battle.
Leading to the battle alone just took so long, and when we finally did get to the Department of Mysteries, I was so pumped and ready for a fight, but we still had a long way to go until we got to that fight.
And once again, my eagerness for something big to happen made me not appreciate all of the smaller details that led up to it. This place is a literal puzzle of hidden secrets, and with each piece that gets put into place, we get a look at just how intricate the world of magic is. I wish I had taken a second to think about how insanely cool the time room or the brain room was, rather than just wanting to get to Voldemort and Dumbledore's duel, the thing that I could actually make a video on. And interestingly, I think that the younger me did appreciate all of the small things because I started reading the books when I was like 5 years old with my grandmother. I think the opinions I had in that video were solely based on the headspace I was in at that time in my life, which was a time all about pumping out exciting Harry Potter videos.
That really was most illuminating.
In that original video, I also stated that a lot of the stuff that happened in the battle, like the Death Eater getting a baby head or the brain attacking Ron with its tentacles, just didn't seem like Harry Potter. And to be honest, I think that's true. We had never experienced anything like this in the series before, and we never would again. It was sort of uncomfortable to read, and back then, this was off-putting to me. But now, I kind of love it, because reading it is like a weird fever dream.
I felt weird though.
Another point I made is that CHANG is annoying in this book. I didn't like her, I didn't like the couple drama, and I thought she cried way too much.
She's crying all the time, she's back and forth with her feelings for Harry. They're friends, then they're dating, then they get into a fight, then Cho apologizes to Harry, then they have another fight, and then Cho ends up with Ginny's ex-boyfriend. And through it all, Cho does nothing but cry.
I think this is the same oversight I took with Sirius's character though. I didn't take into account why Cho was different than she was in previous books, and what made her become the character that I now disliked. My mindset on this opinion changed a few years ago when I made a video called In Defense of Cho Chang, Why She's Not As Bad As Everyone Says. In it, I defended Cho from all of the things people said about her in my comment section of the Life Of video I did on her character.
And she's one of the most hated characters in the series? So much hate! So much hate!
Little did I know, I made these same comments that they did and completely forgot about it.
Are you serious?
But jokes aside, she had been through real trauma the year before. Her boyfriend had very suddenly and very publicly been murdered. There was a reason she was crying, and it was a very valid reason. So yeah, I absolutely feel for Cho now. She just needed someone to talk to about her trauma, and she had no outlet to do so. Anything bad I said about Cho, I take it back. Let's protect her at all costs.
I really am. Sorry.
I've also had a flip of opinion on the S.P.E.W plotline. I used to dislike it, maybe because all of the characters in the novels disliked it. They all said that the house elves were happy working for humans, even the house elves themselves saying this. These days though, I actually thoroughly enjoy Hermione's pursuit for house elf rights. Hermione was fighting against the majority, and she was the only one who was morally correct. It's reminiscent of the abolishment of slavery or women getting the right to vote. Now, did Hermione go about this in the right way? No. Absolutely not. She did it in possibly the worst way you can think of.
Every night, Hermione knits and puts clothes out for the house elves, hoping that when they clean the common room, they pick it up and are set free. There are just so many problems with this. If the elves did pick them up, the school would kind of be screwed because they would lose the cleaners, the cooks, and the creatures that basically keep the school running.
But the origin of her fight that took place in the 5th book is something that I really like about it now.
It's sort of exciting, isn't it?
Another thing I mentioned in that video that I want to talk about was disliking Harry and George beating the shit out of Malfoy. Back then, I said that this scene promoted bullying and violence.
Rowling as Harry go out of character and not just hit Malfoy once, but hit him many times, and he hit him so hard that he bruised his knuckles on Malfoy's jaw. This is on another level of brutality that I don't like to see from our main hero. It just promotes bullying and violence.
I don't know why I said that and felt so strongly about it, because bullying has never been a part of my life on either end of the spectrum. Looking at this scene now, I don't think it's that bad. If anything, I think it actually sends a message to the bullies. If you keep picking on the nerd with glasses, you fuck around and find out. It's just the way of life. Bullies can only push their victims so far before there are consequences, which is the embodiment of the scene with Harry and Draco. So yeah, I'm doing a complete 180 on that take as well. I think sitting down and looking at this taught me that the books we read don't change, but we do. Now, as someone who's experienced way more life than the person that made that video 5 years ago, I can see the beauty in Rowling's decision to slow down and explore the quieter, more uncomfortable moments alongside the action. So I never thought I would say this, but I think The Order of the Phoenix is no longer my least favorite book in the series. Taste change, I guess. Thanks again to Scentbird for sponsoring this video. You can use code FLAME3 to get 55% off your first month, or scan the QR code on the screen. If you enjoyed this video, I have a bunch of other Harry Potter videos on the channel, like this one where I go over the worst headmaster in Hogwarts history, or this one where I rank Harry Potter friendships.